Is this it now? Is this I have to check this audio here. Okay. I think that's good. Let me get this all sorted out here. Let me get all of this sorted out here. I'm just using a new platform. A little bit different for me. I just want to make sure everything works as I would anticipate. Let's see. Come on, show me. Is this gonna pop up here? Come on, test. This does not. This does not work. What have I done? What have I done? This does not work. Oh my goodness. I better call somebody. I need to call, I don't know, call the president. Presidente. Do it. I don't care. But why is this comment not populate here? One might wonder. Hmm. Hmm. Do anything? No. Okay, well, you know what? The bottom line is I didn't come here to test a platform, did I? No, I didn't. I came here to use a platform that I should have tested it before I, subscribed to it, but this is just how it's got to go because I came here to whip it out and show something, okay? A little bit of gold dust. We're talking about AEW uh wrestling, all elite wrestling. Okay, we just had the Grand Slam event that they hold at the Arthur Ashe Stadium. They held it last year. It was amazing. The aesthetic, just the vibe of the whole thing was amazing. Now they've got it again this year. Also at Arthur Ashe. Hello, Luke, in the chat. I'm just gonna keep talking. I see you there though. I appreciate coming by. The vibe of the place. I'm just gonna open up the vibe. The vibe does it for me. The last year when they had it on, the look of the show, it's like it was shot differently to capitalize on the size of the venue, the huge open air space overhead. They like fill the venue with like smoke or like a fog kind of thing to give it this depth. And then they through that mist, that fog, that smoke, they blast these spotlights, colored lights through it, and it feels big time. It feels huge, even though I think the capacity of the venue is not that. It's not like a WrestleMania or anything. In fact, I think it's just kind of like a regular WWE sized venue, but it just feels big. Um, and I could be completely wrong at that, but I don't know. That sold me on it. And I still have this vivid memory of the opening scene of 2021 Grand Slam. Kenny Omega and not Daniel Bryan, Brian Danielson, the American Dragon, standing in their corners and they're like hopping on their feet, ready to get at it. Bell rings and they go, and the place just lights up. First match, main event. Not that much different this year. Actually, this year felt so big. Not even just the how it looks, but just the card. Like the match flow it felt like a pay-per-view, just like a truncated pay-per-view, and I'm there for it because sometimes I feel like their PPVs, they run a little long, a little bit too long for me. Not to say that I'm against it, but it certainly does. I don't know. It creates this opportunity where I need to find a time to kind of step away for a moment because I cannot sit through the whole thing. Um, I know as somebody like so many of us, I have so many things on the go all the time. And so to find any time to set aside for wrestling is great, but realistically is I can't set all that time aside. So I have to like in the middle of a show, I'll be like, okay, this match, I'm gonna go take care of something, and then I'll come back to it. It's just too long, and the value though, we have to change. I mean, I have to change this mindset. Like, oh, that's a bad thing. If it was live, I could see it. I mean, I guess that is a bad thing because you have a live crowd, you burn them out, the reactions are going to dip. Am I right or am I right? I don't know. I don't know these things. I feel like I'm right on that though. And so when I do that, I step away. I lose a bit of the momentum, the engagement. I'm not as immersed. But on this show, okay, this show, it felt like an old school WWF Attitude Era pay per view because you're in hard hitting, it's quick, and it's like it's almost over, but it's all good. Like all of it. I can't think of a downside to this show. The opening match, Jericho and I want to call him Cesaro. I'm conditioned. Damn you, Vince. Claudio. Like I feel two ways about the outcome in a storyline sense. Like I really like the idea of Chris Jericho, a sports entertainer through and through, even on kayfabe, taking what was once revered as the best North American professional wrestling championship title and being like that guy. I'm the best. I'm the best of the underground. I'm the king of the underground. I think that's really badass. Jericho, king of the underground, Ring of Honor, heavyweight champion of the world. And what a banger of a match, man. Jericho, that top, okay, Cesaro goes for a top rope. What does he call it? Like a Ricola bomb off the top rope. Jericho reverses it into a Rana off the top. And man, was it smooth. Damn, was it smooth. Like, you see CM Punk getting hurt, and he's like, oh, I'm old, I'm this and that. And then you see what Jericho is doing. And I'm just like, dude, come on. And I like CM Punk, but man, like that made me so high on Chris Jericho. That specific spot, like, wow. Because when he first came, like when they first launched AEW and he was a champion, I had to reframe how I appreciate Jericho. In order for me to kind of get on with the story. And I love this idea that he was like this modern day Hollywood Hulk Hogan, this bad guy. Because at that time, Hogan was not, he wasn't like the best wrestler in the world. He wasn't the fastest. He was kind of slow and sluggish, a little bit smaller than he used to be, but he still got the job. He was a good bad guy. That's how I felt about Jericho. But I think I had to frame him that way for myself to feel that way about him. It didn't necessarily come organically that way, but I did draw a natural, very quick kind of parallel to that. And that helped me kind of get into the new Chris Jericho in AEW and how he's going to be presented. But this, like ever since the Lionheart, when they did the Lionheart angle, um, that kind of like I was really skeptical that he could pull that off. I bought it. Like he obviously wasn't 97 cruiserweight Jericho, but like I bought into what they were presenting. And I liked it. I liked it. I like that he can dip into these different personas. Because he has such a huge history. And one thing I'm not too big about with like the WWE or used to be, who knows now what they're gonna do, but they would kind of negate history that was written on their own platform. And here's AEW, like as a center of love for professional wrestling, pulling in all of these stories and histories from other places. And I love that because fans follow the wrestlers. It's unlike any other media, like kind of nerd culture. Wrestling is kind of a nerd culture, I feel like unto itself. Well, instead of like Marvel being like, I don't know, I guess it's not that much different. But it'd be like if you took Iron Man and put him into a DC universe, like there's fans of the characters, but the characters cross over into these different universes all the time. And in AEW, they're bringing in everything, and I love it. Uh, so now, when that's that top rope Rana that sold me on Chris Jericho, I want to say is the GOAT, the greatest of all time in terms of like no, I'm just gonna say he's the greatest of all time. Shawn Michaels was a great, he was great, but just at his age and the level of um, benefits that Jericho brings to the television every week, and that I still revere him as like a top level guy, even though technically there's probably guys who are there's guys who are faster, stronger, but it's his psychology, I think, that's really selling me on that. But the story, I'm getting too off into this like inside baseball stuff that I don't really know about, but how I kind of interpret it's just what I'm talking about. But the storyline that they're telling with Jericho taking that belt is fascinating to me because Daniel Garcia is the Ring of Honor television champion. They're both in the same faction, and that relationship between those two is fractured. And like Jericho and Brian just had this kind of match on the previous week where Brian beat Jericho for the first time. And there's just so many pathways they can go, whether it's Jericho eventually feuding with Garcia and Garcia becoming the Ring of Honor champion, or Jericho feuding with Brian and Brian becoming the Ring of Honor champion, creating this package like Brian Danielson and like his what do you call that? His like young Padawan, Daniel Garcia, because they have a kind of similar kind of style. I think it's like the Ring of Honor style. When I think of Ring of Honor, I think of young Brian Danielson. I don't really think of CM Punk because I knew of Danielson first as a Ring of Honor guy. I did see CM Punk in like some other like TNA before I got into Ring of Honor. But I think that would be a very cool representation to have Garcia and Danielson as the Ring of Honor champions. Because I'm tuning into whoever Danielson is. Garcia's great, but he's not he hasn't latched onto my heart like Danielson has yet. I still think he has I don't know. Like I'm not speaking from expertise, but as a fan, he hasn't connected with me yet. Though I do think he's great. Luke in the chat says your hair grows fast. Thanks, Luke. I know. I don't know what it is. I drink olive oil for breakfast. Maybe that has something to do with it. A lot of like omega-3 content in my food. A lot of protein. I mean, a lot of protein. Yeah, it does grow fast, and I think I like having like a shaved head, but in the winter, my gosh, is that terrible? That's not Popeye. That's me shivering my little giblets off in the winter. So where was I? So yeah, I think that'd be a really cool story to tell. I do think like part of me feels bad for Claudio in terms of how the story is playing out. Not him as a wrestler. I do not want to get in like cross that line. Oh, you feel bad for the talent. Talent's there. As a fan, like the character, I want to feel badly, but I don't know. It's like they're lining up this potential for faction warfare between the inner circle. not the Inner Circle. What are they called? The Jericho Appreciation Society and the Blackpool Combat Club. And if that Ring of Honor title gets hot potatoed back and forth between the Blackpool Combat Club and the Jericho Appreciation Society for the next, few months, I'm cool with that. I don't think it devalues the title. I think it can help portray an intensity uh, between the two factions. This battle of attrition, like gang warfare. I like the whole notion with Jericho being this king of the underground because it's a little bit absurd. It reminds me of the Warriors, like come out and play, that movie, and he's like this gang leader. And this is a bit of a window on how I kind of consume wrestling. It's like it's filtered through all this other outside external influence that has shaped my kind of understanding of fiction because as a writer, like I'm more interested in the stories than like the matches. But I'm interested in I don't know. It's hard to separate the two. The potential of the stories outweigh the quality of the matches for me, if that makes any sense. And if not, I'm just gonna go with it. But as this idea that Jericho is some gang leader and he's the king of the underground because Ring of Honor feels like this wasteland. It really feels like the underground. It doesn't even have a TV show. They run these pay-per-views. But there's an edge to that. Like we're still alive. You don't see us, but we're still alive. And Jericho, who is the antithesis, in my opinion, of what Ring of Honor represented, though he does have a technical background, he's rooted in the Heart Dungeon. It's very cool. So you have the Blackpool Combat Club, who is they're in the mainstream, but they're very much like a Ring of Honor kind of soul. So you have the antithesis of the soul holding the championship, the holy grail. He possesses. It's like I have your crown jewel. I have your crown jewel. And the Blackpool Combat Club who represent that crown jewel and bleed that blood, they want it back. So let's effing go. You know what I mean? I'm there for it. Hot potato it back and forth. Like this increase the intensity, cage matches, blood, whatever you got. But keep that title hot. Raise the stakes on that belt. Make it mean something to the guys. And you got to have Bryan Danielson, I think, to do that. Because he is the heart and soul of Ring of Honor, in my opinion. Because he carried that with him even as he went to, the big leagues, the WWF. He still stood by the idea that wrestling was important. Oh, moving on. What was the next match? So yeah, I'm not going to rate the match. I'm not a star guy. I enjoyed it. I'll say that much. Claudio's very strong. It's unreal. Jericho blows me away. Yeah. The next match could be wrong, but I think it was a tag match between Swerve and Our Glory and there. I can't do that. What's that noise at the beginning of the Acclaim song? The Acclaim, something, something, something. Listen. Damn, they're over. The Acclaim is so over, and it's just they're like the New Age Outlaws. Come on now, and they got even Daddy Ass there. Sesame, Daddy Ass, Sesame. Love that shit. It's so good. Swerve is amazing. Like, I like his demeanor. I like that he feels like some people I know who are just really, really effing cool. Very cool. They got this swag, this like enigmatic kind of presence that you don't know. You don't know what they know. Like you know that they know some stuff that you don't know. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel about Swerve. Feels like he can handle himself. Feels like he's not above cheating. Keith Lee comes out. I feel like Keith Lee's presentation in A&W, A&W is a Canadian fast food chain, if anybody's worried. So I might make that slip up a few times. I frequent that like once a month, maybe I go there. Get myself a little hash brown, throw a little ketchup on the side, dab it in. What are we talking about? And when I say hash brown, just to be clear, it's one of those like potato pancake things, hash brown pancake things. You know, you throw yeah, you throw a little bit of salt and pepper on that. Uh, don't even get me going, boo. Fried potatoes, they'll kill you, but are they good? They good. So so these guys come out. Swerve's got these mad connections I hear on podcasts for like this hip hop culture. So you got Fabulous came out with him, and then you had Arama. The Acclaim comes out, and they had DJ Who Kid with them get in there, and the whole like the audience is just like, oh, scissor me, daddy. Oh, scissor me, daddy. Supporting the Acclaimed, you know, and I don't know how to describe this match other than it felt true to the characters. A lot of matches, there's a disconnect that happens with the characters when maybe they're thinking too much about moves. But this match was really, it's like these guys, I believe these guys. I believe Anthony Bowens, Matt Caster, Swerve, and Keith Lee. Like they just portrayed their characters, and through that portrayal, the combat, simulated combat, uh, it connected, and that was the story. Like the story doesn't have to be always, and just as so I'm clear here, when I say I value the story over the quality of the match, you can tell the story through the body of the match and still have kind of a poor match quality, I guess, on a technical sense. But these guys, I think, I don't know what like a wrestling journalist would say. Oh, this match is 15. I don't know what they say, how many stars, but their characters were believable to me that I was able to latch on to the triumph and the fear and anxiety, the angst of the characters, the frustrations of the characters, their kind of body language, how they suffer, and how they kind of pace themselves, told the story. Like that's like a Rocky movie. Like the Rocky fights are a part of the story, you know? And I was there for it. And let's be real. I knew the outcome of this match ahead of time because they just had a match. And let's be real. A lot of people thought like it would have been great if they won at the All Out pay-per-view. I thought so too. I thought like, wow, like because you could feel it was palpable. The crowd, they just like they wanted it. They wanted it so bad, the Acclaim to win. They had so much support and momentum. And then when Swerve in our glory won, they booed and they said, bullshit, bullshit. Whole place, you know? And if that's not an indication that, you got to strap a rocket to these guys and send them to the moon, I don't know what is. So when this rematch was announced shortly after that, I knew like, okay, this is the direction that the company will go to tell this story. And it felt good after they won that. Even though, like Billy Gunn's getting involved, hit the famouser on the outside. The intriguing part of this story to me, more so than the Acclaim winning, which I'm happy that they won, and I think they're going to tell some great stories on their end. Just because looking at what the New Age Outlaws did for so long, like, were they technically the best tag team? I don't think so. But damn, do they ever know how to light the place up? That's a representation you want. You want to be able to, at the end of your show, have a main event tag team match where even just the entrance, the arrival of your team is going to garner like that huge, I don't know what you call it, like a Road Warrior pop. Like, oh, you know, get people excited because when you're watching that on TV and you see a whole play, it's like, it makes me want to go, you know? they have a lot of dynamics on their end. But in this right now, the story I'm interested in is what Swerve and Keith Lee are going to do because there's always been a little bit of dissension between those two, going back to like this time when Swerve eliminated Keith Lee from a battle royal, and then I think Keith Lee eliminated Swerve on a subsequent battle royal. Can't really remember, but that's how long they tell these stories, and they don't forget. Unlike some other places, they just they remember. Tony remembers. I would think somebody's remembering because I see him tie up loose ends, or at least call back to. So I wonder what they're going to do there. And I think Swerve is such a good heel. He's such a good bad guy, a villain. Like Hit Row is great, but Keith Lee doesn't seem like a villain. He doesn't seem like a heel. And I mean, I don't really know how he is in terms of his health, but we've seen Keith Lee in the past be a like really effective hero, a good guy, protagonist. Luke in the chat going to get some groceries. Talk soon. All right. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming by, Luke. You have a good one. Get the groceries. We've seen him be a really effective protagonist, but I don't know how his health is. Like I heard, there was some news that he was not doing great, and I know tag matches, if for the uninitiated, tag matches, trios, any kind of thing where you're not really standing on your own is a great way to kind of supplement or add like a crutch to these characters or having some difficulty performing. So I don't want to see Keith Lee put himself in jeopardy beyond what an average wrestler would do. But we've seen him be an effective protagonist. I would really be interested to see because I think Swerve can really channel some intensity as a bad guy, especially when there's stakes at hand, especially when he feels like he's been wronged or robbed. I'm very curious to see his promos as a heel. He's a rapper too, right? But he doesn't rap on the show. But he carries himself like a rapper, and I would love to see that kind of how they have the House of Black doing their very stereotypical culty dark stuff. I would love to see like Swerve as like a gangster, like a boss, like a gangster boss, almost like how they did Hit Row in NXT, but bring that with a bit more intensity into AEW. That's a faction that is missing. Like that's a cultural pocket that you could really kind of draw out, in my opinion. Would it be a faction or would it just be him? I feel like in order to channel that kind of that cultural thing, you have to have it, if not a posse, like a gang or an entourage around Swerve. Because you see it, like look at a rap music video. That's basically just do that. Have Swerve out there. You know what I mean? Give him a tag team. Who would it be? I don't know. Who else is into hip hop in that place? And who's to say? Maybe you can turn Keith Lee heel, but that story is more intriguing to me. In the downfall, the loss of the titles, are they still going to want to go for the belts? Maybe they do another rematch. Maybe that's where that's where it all falls apart. Who knows? Great match, though, in my opinion. I had a good time watching it. The reaction at the end, they got the confetti. Those guys, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, big fan. Didn't they come in the pandemic? I think they did. Where they were wrestling as like, I don't know, they're just some guys they brought in to do a couple matches because they didn't have any audience, or they put them in the audience. And they just get loud. I don't know. Is that the case? Anthony Bowens? I feel like way back when, if I'm not mistaken, I thought Max Caster was in one like the first battle royal the AEW had. And I'll have to go back and watch it. I have it purchased through Fight TV, which is a great way to watch it if you're Canadian. And I don't know what other regions of the world have that, but that's how I do it. What was next? The next match. Was it? And I'm just going off the top of my head. I'm not going to pull up notes. I'm just going right by feel. The ladies match. Was it Britt Baker, Tony Storm, Athena and Serena Deeb. Okay, this the spot Serena Deeb was doing, and again, here goes back to storytelling throughout the match. Okay, this is not like spots that are what would I say, unbecoming of the character. Like Serena Deeb's wrestling spots developed her character. Like she doesn't need to cut a promo. She'd go in the ring and tell tell you who her character is through how she wrestles. Fantastic. Like I'm sold on Serena Deeb from that match. I watched some other like I watched her feud with Britt Baker and stuff, and the promos were fine, but not Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa. Promos were okay, whatever, you know. You're the professor of wrestling. I think she's kind of like she got some moves, but just seeing how she navigated like Tony Storm and Athena at once, got Tony Storm in like a almost like the leg lock. In what do they call that? Indian leg lock, I think it's called. Ducked a clothesline from Athena, threw her into a abdominal stretch, and then like a suplex or something, a German suplex, a back suplex. Like confidently negotiating that and so smooth. I'm like, that's it. This is the professor. This is what you mean when you say this is the best technical wrestler in the world for the women. When they have said that, on pretty sure they have said that on the show. Maybe they haven't said that. I'm pretty sure they have said that. Okay. Like, damn, sold on that. You got me. Yes, tell me that story, the characters. But you have Tony Storm, who I like. I'm in fact like she's, you know what I mean, like beautiful woman. But I don't know who her character is. Like I don't know. I know she's kind of hard hitting. She's like a world traveled wrestler, but I don't know yet who she is through wrestling. You know what I mean? Athena was doing a pretty good job, in my opinion, of identifying herself through the match. She was like taunting them, doing like childish, kind of like she's having fun. It almost reminded me, and here I go back to these other kind of avenues of entertainment that kind of help me draw a comparison to these characters that then helps me validate these characters to myself. Rufio from the movie Hook, you know? Like Rufio had this wild hair and kind of flamboyant, not really flamboyant. He's like a loud character, a lot of body language, dance around. But he was always doing like, looky, looky, I got hooky, like having a good time throughout his fights. Athena reminds me of Rufio. And I was like, okay, here's something I can latch on to because it's somewhat familiar. Tony Storm, not so much. And that's not that it's bad. I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying, from my fan perspective, I still am not sure what her strengths or her weaknesses are, or really what her demeanor is. Because she's very like stoic, like go and get the job done. And I like that. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not as prevalent in terms of characterizing the combat. And then Britt Baker, like she's great. I really I like her place in the story right now, where she's kind of like she's still when I think of the women's division, I still think of Britt Baker as like the top women's wrestler, even though she's not the champion. Because she had the belt for so long, and then suddenly she's like, but she's not irrelevant, and that's the main thing. And it's like in this universe, this world that they've created, she's on the perpetual climb up. There's Laozi. Laozi. Can you spell your name for me, please? And this is just Laozi in the chat. Oh, you know what I don't have on here, Lou? I mean, Laozi. I don't have that on. So you're just spending points. I don't have on my bot thing because I don't remember how to do it. You know, and I just kind of hopped on here on a whim because I wanted to talk about AEW Grand Slam 2022. and the future optimism regarding AEW. So, yeah, I think Britt Baker as an archetype, it's just the villain who slightly fell from grace, but as soon as she fell, she got back up and relentlessly in pursuit of what she had lost, which is that glory, that championship, her prize, the power. So she is there, and that's great. I got nothing bad to say about that. But then, well, here's Laozi. What is Grand Slam? I'm way out of the loop here. So AEW Grand Slam is this annual event. It's like how they have Dynamite, which is like their Raw. Um, Tony Khan brands some of these shows. They'll be like Bash at the Beach, but it's just a Dynamite. But he'll put like a theme on it, kind of thing. Grand Slam, it takes place at this open air tennis stadium in New York. It's like a fairly big venue. And it's kind of like a pay-per-view truncated into the time slot of Dynamite. And it was a banger. If you can watch it, watch it. Like they present it differently. The layout's different. They fill the arena with like smoke and smog and stuff. Give it a big fight feel. Lots of spotlights. Damn. So then after Britt Baker, after the end of the match, Tony Storm retains the title. It was just a skirmish. It was a brawl. Tony Storm grabs the crucifix pin, I think it was. Takes the title. Britt Baker and like her comrades come in and start beating the effing crap out of old Tony Storm. They get a chair. Who then comes down? Who's that? Not Britt Baker. Jamie Hayter comes running down, and you're thinking like, oh, she's gonna save Tony Storm. Nope. Hayter puts Tony Storm to task. And you're like, okay, this was the angle. That's it. Okay, this is like a fine way to end the match. But then some music starts playing. People are like, what's going on? People are looking towards the Tron. Saraya. Paige shows up in AEW. Paige came off this injury, this like career-ending injury. And then the dirt sheets are saying like WWE has been talking to Paige about coming back. And she shows up in AEW. What are we talking about here? Laozi saying, I wish there was an easy way to watch AEW over here. I have to like download the illegal shit, man. Yeah, Paige! Paige is back. But her name is Saraya because Paige is a trademark asset of the WWE. Yeah, you should watch it. I can flip you a link to stream it. It's just off like Daily Motion that they've uploaded, but it's good, man. I just finished saying how Jericho versus Claudio was the opening match for the Ring of Honor World Title. If you don't know, AEW has acquired what do they call a Ring of Honor. This match was for the women's title. There's previously the match between the two was a tag title. Every match on the show was for a belt. Yeah, they can have it. We don't need that. We don't need the name Paige. We got Saraya. We got the lips. We got the hips. We got all that. Paige is a banger, man. She hits hard, right? And that's the thing with the women's division in AEW. Like the wrestling is good, but they don't have that name value star, that household name. But I think like this is the one because I don't know who else is available that you could bring in that has this kind of equity. They're all under contract. Like they brought in some people from the end. They bring in people from Japan and stuff, but it just doesn't move. Like it doesn't resonate the same way. They do have a hardcore fan base, but it doesn't resonate with like even me. Like I'm probably not a hardcore fan, even though I watch a lot of wrestling. But there's so much happening. Like I don't know a lot of the people they bring in. Does that mean Enzo is on the AEW roster now? No, Enzo is not. However, okay, who comes out? Yuta Wheeler is a member of the Blackpool Combat Club, which is a faction involving John Moxley, who they have, William Regal, Cesaro or Claudio Castagnoli, whatever his name is, and Brian, the American Dragon, Brian Danielson. This is the faction, and he's out there talking all this stuff. MJF comes out. If you don't know who MJF is, you need to go watch his promos. This guy is like the new Ric Flair on like some Gen Z-ish. This guy will devour everybody. I don't think there's a better person on the microphone than MJF right now as a heel. So he comes out there. They fight. Yuta Wheeler takes him down, starts feeding him shots to the face. Then who comes out? You're talking about Enzo. But Big Cass, now known as William or W. Morrissey. And W stands for William. Yeah. But I know Maxwell. so Big Cass's portrayal here, W. Morrissey, for the first little bit, and I was watching him in Impact, it was hard for me not to look at him as Big Ass, Enzo's muscle. But now, how they're portraying him on AEW is fantastic. He's like a psychopath. He doesn't speak. His eyes are always, it's like he doesn't blink. And he's mean. He's angry. He wears he's got like jeans on. He looks like a guy. He looks like just like a brute, like a bouncer or something. So he comes out, helps Maxwell take out Yuta, and off they go. And yeah. So like R.I.P. Yuta Wheeler. Don't go toe to toe with MJF on the mic. Who does that? You know what I mean? Who does that? So what came next? I feel like there was another title match. I could be wrong. So whatever match I'm forgetting, I'm just gonna. Oh yeah, Pac and Orange Cassidy. So a lot of people have like bad feelings about Orange Cassidy in terms of, oh, he's not a great wrestler. He's one of these fake wrestlers. And people say that. I'm like, what does fake wrestler even mean? Obviously, aren't they all fake fighters? I love Orange Cassidy. I think he's fantastic. He brings that, in my opinion, that attitude era, like X Factor, where it's like you or ECW, you can use these characters that are just simply ludicrous, but they bring familiar songs, like somebody busts out a guitar at a party. It's like, I'm gonna play, I don't know, like not Wonderwall, because no, does anybody like that anymore? You've bastardized it. I don't know, like something. You play like Chumbawamba on an acoustic guitar. And people are like, this is stupid. But everyone can sing along with it. That's what I like about Orange Cassidy. And he's unique. Guy wrestles with his hands in his pockets, and he wears a Canadian tuxedo. For the uninitiated, let me tell you, that means a denim jacket and denim pants. All right. Doesn't really talk. He doesn't look like he cares that much. And that's the antithesis to Pac. And this is why this is a good match, because Pac is intense. He takes a lot of pride in his wrestling. He carries with him this reputation from WWE where he quit because he didn't want to lose to Enzo. Okay. He didn't want to lose to Enzo Amore, who was the cruiserweight champion. Oh no, I'm gonna take my ball and go home. I'm the bastard. I'm the bastard Pac. I'm the bastard. That's who he is now. But he's still that, but he's meaner. And I don't think he talks very much. Hating on Orange Cassidy is so IWC, it hurts. It is. It is that. And here at Wrestling in Italics, we talk from a fan's perspective. Zoom in slowly. Bing. Yeah. So from the story perspective, I think it's great because it's like, it's that old story of like the jock and like the slacker. Because he's such a ripoff from Wet Hot American Summer or whatever that movie is. He even has the same song that they use. I am the WIC. Yeah. WII, right? Yeah. So I mean, it was a good match. I didn't want to necessarily see Orange Cassidy win the all Atlantic title because he's American as far as I know. Though he is billed from wherever, wing, whatever. So he could be from overseas, I guess. But I do think it's important to keep that title, in my opinion, for storyline purposes, unless it's a heel. I think it's a great way to kind of spotlight un-American talent, like the Canadians, even, or the Canadians as like a herd of animals. Anybody from over, they have so many like international stars. Keep that belt for those guys, I think. Anyways, fun match. I don't think there's much of a story there to tell. Orange Cassidy is interchangeable. You could drop him in anywhere, and he's fantastic. He's like a on a sitcom. He's like the neighbor. You see him there, and he'll just be eating your cereal. Like, what are you doing here? And he'll tell you that you're out of milk because he drank your last milk. The un-Americana. Yes. Anybody listening to the podcast, you can join next time on Twitch TV / the Wolf Johnson. Up next was the main event. It was Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. This was cool. They're both in the same faction, the Blackpool Combat Club. And it's one of these rare situations where when two faction members are facing each other, it doesn't feel like they're imploding because they've cultivated this aura around this faction that they just like to fight. In fact, that's how this faction was brought together. It was a Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson match, right? And then William Regal came out and slapped them both in the face and made them shake hands. And since then, they've really jacked up that gimmick that these guys just like to fight. And when they go out there, it's brutalized, especially Danielson stomping on people's head. I mean, I would have loved if they would have been able to get some traction under the he's gonna kick your fucking head in. Whatever the chant was from Ring of Honor. I forget the rhythm. He's gonna kick your effing head in. Clap, 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 clap. Put that on TV. Give me that, you know? But that's the character he's portraying. He's not doing this vegan thing. He's not doing this recycling, condescending crap. This yes, he doesn't do the yes. He comes out and he wants to fight. And that's what Moxley does too, you know what I mean? So it's yes, like it's Fight Club. Let's have that. This match in a vacuum is not the story that interests me though. It's what happens from here. The match is cool and interesting and dynamic because of the story that led to it. But the most intriguing part from here now is where does Bryan go? Where does Moxley go? I didn't see any sort of resentment from Danielson for losing to Moxley in this match. Moxley previously had a little bit of a tiff with not Toronto International Film Festival for all my film nerds, okay? I mean, a little bit of a spat, if that is preferable for you in your paradigm of thinking. But MJF and Moxley had a bit of a thing. That's the promos I want because MJF in that promo earlier said, like, dude, check this. Like, I don't believe you who you are. He's like, I think you're putting on a tough guy front. And we haven't seen Jon Moxley be vulnerable. The most vulnerable we've seen is when he came off of his sabbatical from rehab. And he kind of said, I have flaws. I have scars. Like, I just try, you know? And he told a guy to go F himself in the audience. First thing back, go F yourself. Get that guy out of here. Love it. But that's a story that is going to interest me. That's the story that's going to make me believe in the title. Because right now the title has lost so much, in my opinion, it's lost so much kind of momentum due to the whole thing that happened with CM Punk and the Elite. But this, like anything that would have happened with CM Punk, this is far more interesting. I don't like another CM Punk and MJF thing. I could take it or leave it. Like I've already seen it. I don't think you're gonna make me like feel the jeopardy of CM Punk losing a title. He's so far like he's a legacy act now. He's fantastic. I like him. I would like those promos, sure, if he's willing to burn the place down like he did on the media scrum, getting himself suspended and maybe released and into a brawl. That's funny. Uh, but they didn't go. They didn't put that on TV. So what they're putting on TV now is the idea that Moxley can be humanized. This guy who's been tearing through independence as like while he's been the AEW champion, going on independent wrestling shows, having some of the most violent, bloody matches. Has been like he's developed himself into just this ultimate tough guy. He's not afraid to fight. He doesn't think he's going to lose. He's never going to back down. He's never going to quit. So if MJF can, through promos, humanize this guy, Moxley has a family. He has like everybody knows Renee Paquette from the WWE. She's a public figure. We haven't known John Moxley the father yet. We haven't seen his heart bleed. We've seen him bleed. We've seen his head bleed. But I want to see Moxley suffer like a human. I want to see him in jeopardy. I want to see him be vulnerable. That's the baby face. That's the protagonist. And I want to see MJF exploit every one of his potential weaknesses, every single effing one. And I want him to do it ruthlessly, consistently. I want him to say things that are like you've won a trip straight to hell. MJF for saying this. He's already done that on TV, talking about like calls Brian Pillman Jr.'s mother Methany. It says like your dad would be disappointed in you if he wasn't dead. You know, so MJF is a savage. See, Moxley is a savage in the ring, but MJF is a savage on the mic, and that's what I want to see. Because really, I do think you can break somebody down mentally. That's the story. On the flip side, uh, you know, how that match ended was good. And as I'm about to speak about what I think Brian Danielson, uh, Leozi wants to know about CM Punk. He's out of the loop because this is a Laps fan, my man here. We used to run wrestling podcasts all the time. He's been out of the loop. You got to check out CM Punk in the media scrum. Go watch the All Out Media Scrum 2022. I want you to watch him sit beside the owner of the company and run a shoot promo against Colt Cabana, who is Scott Colton, the wrestling journalists, the EVPs of the company, who are the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega. And I want you to watch him call Adam Hangman Page, like their previous AEW champion, a dumb, empty-headed F. Right to Tony Khan, and I want you to watch Tony Khan's face as he sits there and he takes it like a little beep. You know? Like it's the pipe bomb. This guy took a blowtorch to the whole place right after he won the championship. And now he's gone. They vacated the belt the next day. Or like the next show, which was like 3 days later. Okay. Go watch that. And tell me, because here's a feeling I have. Because until this show, that's all I cared about. They had a couple shows, before the Grand Slam. I didn't care about any of them. I wanted to know what they were going to do with CM Punk and the Elite because they're all off TV now. They don't even mention their name. And I don't know how the Elite will save face or CM Punk will save face unless they play it out as an angle. What, are you going to show up in WWE as a bunch of crybabies? Having that kind of pinned to your name? I'm sure they'll make you forget, but damn. Think about Brett and Sean and the intensity of that. It sounds like a work. That's what I'm saying. It should be a work. It should be a work. Work me. Punk is actually injured from that match, but all things, I mean, I don't really know, but based on what everyone is reporting, it doesn't seem like it seems different. Maybe though. It's a good work for sure. If so, I hope it is. Because that's the money match. You bring CM Punk back, you have him feud with the Elite on TV. The Elite also have an issue with FTR. You team up Punk and FTR, aka the Revival, if you're not aware of that. And then have them have that match, have those promos. I'm in. I'm sold. There's millions of dollars there. I know it. But on AEW Grand Slam 2022, the match with Bryan and Moxley. By the end of the match, I was rooting so heavily for Bryan Danielson, because Moxley's been the champion, and I think Bryan Danielson would be a familiar face. He has amazing matches. He does not have bad matches. I don't think he's capable of that anymore, especially since his handcuffs are off and he can do whatever he wants. I was rooting for him. And it was like an equal fight, back and forth, back and forth. But the thing that got Danielson is it was just a small mistake where, he was kicking out of his finishers, whatever, but Moxley was able to mount him on the back, put him in a sleeper hold. And just because of the weight of Moxley, he couldn't get him off. And so he passed out. But he never quit, and he didn't get pinned. It's just one of those things. It was a slip up. Moxley wins, but it does not make Danielson look bad at all. He didn't come out looking worse for wear. In fact, I thought he looked better, to be honest with you, because that was a good match. It's fun, hard hitting, a lot of drama. But where Danielson goes now, is there a term for that finish? I don't know. Pass out finish. I'm not sure. Because it's still a clean finish. The Stone Cold pass out finish. Yeah. Is it that? No, it's not quite that, because this is more like Danielson just couldn't breathe. He was trapped. He basically was trapped under a car, which is Moxley. That one, though, they have done that one with Danielson where he's in he's in the sharpshooter and he just passed out. That's a Stone Cold finish. This one's a little bit different. This is more like a UFC kind of thing. MMA type finish. So with Jericho now the world champion for Ring of Honor, anyways, which is defended on AEW all the time, and Garcia, the Ring of Honor television champion. So Garcia and Danielson are very similar in styles. Garcia is like a very young Bryan Danielson. And Danielson has shown some interest in kind of mentoring Garcia, though Garcia is in a faction with Jericho. A lot of people have been saying well, Jericho and Garcia will feud over that title. I think they will. My prediction is Garcia and Jericho will fight for the Ring of Honor World Champion. Jericho will win. Somehow it's going to involve Bryan Danielson. Maybe he comes out after the match. I don't know. Maybe Jericho cheats to beat Garcia. Maybe there's a bit of an issue with that after the match is over. Danielson comes out to help. The match will be Bryan Danielson and Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor Championship. And it'll have something to do with that. That's my prediction. And they'll put that on the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view. That's my prediction. And I think that's a good story. because I love the idea. Again, as I mentioned at the start of the podcast, I love the idea that Jericho, this sports entertainer, this guy who was the mainstream WrestleMania headliner at one point, is now the king of the underground. He has that underground championship. He is like the leader of a gang from the movie The Warriors, because those guys are a bunch of clowns. You know, they did that cage match. They did that War Games match dressed up like Clockwork Orange characters, just red instead of white, suspenders and everything. That's interesting to me. The king of the underground in the hands of the antithesis of the underground. You know, he has the crown jewel, and Bryan Danielson is that heart and soul of Ring of Honor, historically, in my opinion. So for them to take it back and to be side by side with a new heart and soul of Ring of Honor, that is the story I want to see. That's got me intrigued. Not Danielson being the face of AEW. I don't think it would do anything for him. And in fact, I think it might limit the opportunities for some of the other guys. Because truthfully, I don't think there's anybody on the AEW roster who's better than Danielson in the ring. Certainly not believable. Moxley kind of barely did it. Even through the match, I thought like it wasn't believable to me that Moxley was a better wrestler than Danielson. So the victory had to be like how it was, where it was almost like a fluke that Moxley won. He didn't quit. It was hard hitting. Not to say he didn't deserve it, but just that Danielson feels like a Terminator in the ring. But like not a Terminator, like a high level artist that other people would aspire to. So I don't know that you could have him be a champion and then pass it on to somebody without that next person getting some kind of negative feedback from the audience. Whereas Ring of Honor, it's like, who better to be the champion than Danielson? You know what I mean? That's the story, and I'm really looking forward to it. That show has made me kind of like these future storylines have made me forget about CM Punk. Like I don't even care. I don't care about that angle now. You missed the boat, dude. Save it for like months, maybe even a year down the line, have these guys randomly show up. But right now it's about the future of AEW. It made me excited for like where the AEW is going, because right after that media scrum, I got to tell you, I was concerned. I did not feel good about AEW, even though, like AEW is a good show, good wrestling, but with Triple H now running the WWE, whatever, Triple H running the WWE, and it's getting very good. Not quite Attitude Era, but more like 2002-ish kind of WWE. Like it's all of wrestling is good now, but AEW had me thinking like this shit is out of control. Like I don't think, is this going to last? Is it sustainable? How things are going? But yeah, I'm excited now for AEW, and I got tickets to Rampage in a couple of weeks. They're coming to Canada. I try to get Dynamite tickets, man. I was in line. I was on my computer for like an hour. Okay. I'm like, I've got this screen open. As soon as tickets are available, I'm going. I don't know how long people would have been in line. As soon as I had an opportunity to get in line digitally, I did it. Like, boom, button showed up. Me going, hey, is it appearing? Me going, is me clicking a button. That was it. And then it was like 1,200 people behind. But by the time I could have access to purchase the tickets, like the whole place was sold out. Because resellers, these effing scalpers, got it all. So I couldn't get a Dynamite ticket, but nobody touched Rampage. Rampage is taped on a separate night this time. Usually they tape it after Dynamite, I believe. So it makes me like believe maybe they're gonna have a little special rampage, which I'll be happy for. And you know, I'm still gonna try and get a Dynamite ticket. I'm gonna try and get one from one of the scalpers close to close to the show. I don't care. I don't even care if it's a bad seat. I've been in that venue. It's not big. There's not really a seat that's going to be limit your ability to enjoy the show. You'll be able to see everything. Everything won't be. You won't need binoculars. Nothing like that. Laozzi in the chat saying, "Has there been a noticeable swing in WWE?" I've been curious. Absolutely, 100%. Like 100%, Lou. Lou, it's so much better now. Like there's none of these stupid rules where you can't say this, that. Like I'm pretty sure the promos are loosely scripted now, maybe heavily for people who can't really cut a promo. But like the first thing they did was maybe I don't know if you were watching wrestling at the time, but Karrion Cross was kind of like a what would you call him? Not really a supernatural character, but kind of like a noirish Jack the Ripper type villain. Um, and he was fantastic on NXT. He didn't really speak that much. He had a mystique about him. He had his wife, Scarlett Bordeaux. The Smoke Show. I only remember Cross from Good NXT. Yes, that Karrion Cross was brought back. But when they brought him to the main roster the first time, when Vince did it, they threw him in like some cheap plastic costume that looked like a gladiator costume and put a mask on him. Like, what the flying effing shit are you doing? They had him job to Jeff Hardy in like 3 minutes as he was the standing NXT champion. Like, come on. Come on. They just killed him for no reason. Why? So you can book Randy Orton and I don't know, friggin' I don't know, anybody from 2007 again. Get the heck out of here with that crap. You know, first thing he did, Karrion Cross runs in on SmackDown, attacks Drew McIntyre during the main event, and he's not coming out in a stupid costume. He's coming out how he was in NXT. He's wearing his leather jacket, got his wife there. They do the black and white gimmick where the lights go down and everything's black and white. They did that. Who else did they bring back? They brought back a few guys from NXT. Kevin Owens. Okay, here's one. Kevin Owens. Do you remember OG Kevin Owens when he beat Cena while he was the NXT champion? That Kevin Owens is back. They changed his Titantrons to like his NXT Titantrons. They put the NXT gear on him. Coming out, powerbombing people on aprons. He's not goofing around, man. He's got that bottomless move set we used to talk about. He's doing that. Okay. Like, let's effing go. Yes, fight Owens, fight. That's the one. That's the one. No more goofy Kevin Owens. No more like Titantron full of this logo that they put on his shirt. None of that. And it's good. Like, he's been having good matches. Retire the effing KO show. It's done, Lou. It's gone. They're bringing War Games to Survivor Series. They have not done War Games on the main roster because Vince thought it was stupid and, it would mess up the production. Show me this. He turned, so they made new NXT. It's called 2.0, and they basically made the visual presentation closer to what they were doing at Dynamite at first, which Dynamite's intro would have all these different colors, like a palette of colors, opposed to SmackDown and Raw, where they just shower the whole thing in one color. It's ridiculous. So they had that presentation. They got rid of the black and gold, all that stuff. And it was garbage. They stopped hiring indie wrestlers. They released Ciampa, No, they didn't. They didn't release Ciampa. They released like Kyle O'Reilly, all the undisputed Arrow guys, Arrow guys. Uh, Triple H changed the logo back to black black and gold. It's the same shape as the new kind of lettering, but the colors are switching back. Um, NXT is kind of crap now, though. I'll be honest with you, because they don't have any indie. It's all like new guys with the matches are not very good. I'll be honest with you on NXT. But the fact that he's moving in that direction, beautiful. I got you amped. Yeah, you need to check it, okay? If not even a whole show, like just pick and choose. But like they've been spotlighting Chad Gable. He's amazing. Like the matches are good. They took away Champa's first name when he went to the main roster, stuck him with the Miz. Triple H gave him back his first name. You know what I mean? They brought back Gargano. Gargano's in the main roster now, but they brought him back. Here he is. He's back. You know? If they can make main roster NXT level as absolute peak, they're working towards it. Seriously. They're not there yet, but they're working towards that. They're setting up the pieces. But now you have guys like AJ, you got Balor up there. But these are like the characters who we knew Vince would not show any respect to. They're the characters that kind of got us invested during NXT. Like, okay, and then you bring them to the main roster and they just F them. Triple H isn't going to do that. So, some guys are more along than others right now, but they're pushing them in the right way. Okay, they have this guy Dexter Loomis. I don't know if you know him from NXT, but he's like a serial killer. He's just been stalking the Miz. This is like Attitude Era stuff. Like you just see him in the audience, just like this, staring at the Miz. You'll catch a glimpse of him. The stash dude, yeah, he looks like Steve Austin with a Hitler Youth haircut and a mustache. Big arm sleeve tattoos. This guy, this guy was in the back of the Miz's car when he drove away, just staring like this. This guy cuts through the bottom of the ring, drags him, tries to drag him under the ring, but he can't because Ciampa helps him, and then he disappears. And it's like, oh shit, what's happening? They're getting there, Lou. Like it's a good time, man. I'm excited what they can do. Now, okay, on Raw, I think it was Raw. They tease like a confrontation between AJ and Balor, and they reference their history. They're like, "Hey, man, we're brothers." Throwing this up. If only they did that when the Good Brothers were there. When they essentially had the Bullet Club. But hey, who knows? Maybe they'll bring that back. In fact, that might be what brings back the Good Brothers because Balor is aligned with Edge's old stable, which got screwed over like a weekend or it felt like a week. I don't know. It feels like they didn't do any development and they kicked Edge out of this stable that he invented and then brought back Edge like the next week as if he had never gone through this evil transformation. It was so stupid. So, anyways, Triple H is picking this up with Balor in the group and they're trying to do something with it. But if Balor's going to feud with AJ needs some backup. You bring back the Good Brothers. Logically, they're hinting that Bray Wyatt is coming back. They're feeling like they've got like these Easter eggs on stuff, and they got like QR codes. If you scan them, it takes you like these videos that are playing, and it's like, oh, this font is from Bray Wyatt's T-shirt. This and that, this and that. Though I gotta say, I don't care to see the Fiend. I want to see OG NXT Bray Wyatt, the guy who's like Cape Fear, Hawaiian shirt, talk like this all day, and like singing, got the whole world in my hands. I don't want the guy in the mask. It's not interesting to me anymore. It's too campy. It's too gimmick. It's like a fine side thing, but in practice, I would love to see those promos. True Detective Bray, yes, man, because Bray is such a good promo when he's like when he has a storyline that is going somewhere. Yeah, where the bodies, Bray? You mean them bodies? Something like some crazy Southern stuff. Yeah. So yeah, if I gotta say though, not all of the show is quite yet fine tuned or dialed in. For the women, there's not really that much happening for the women, which is different from NXT. I don't think they know what to do with Bailey, or maybe Bailey doesn't know what to do with herself in this role that she's playing. She's playing kind of like a Karen esque. Yeah, I don't know what she's trying to do. I don't know. I don't know what she's trying to do. I also don't care for Rollins. I never really did actually, so maybe that's just my own bias. But I think his presentation is a little goofy. Maybe he's having fun, but I don't get it. I feel like he fake laughs too much. It's corny, in my opinion. Reigns, have you had any exposure to Reigns in his heel role? Because that is the role. Like he is killing it. And he's doing, and I gotta say, the tribal chief. I remember doing a podcast back in like 2016, 17, saying what they should have done is basically what they were doing on Breaking Bad. You have a kingpin in Roman Reigns, you give him a submission hold, you take that stupid shirt, a stupid vest on him. I thought he should have had an armbar or something. And then you take the Usos and you make them the two cousins from Breaking Bad, the gangsters. That's basically what they're doing. So I bought in immediately because Reigns ain't, he's a big dude. He ain't soft, you know? He has a tribal chief. That whole thing. And Sami Zayn in that group, if you haven't been paying any attention, just go watch Sami Zayn, even Google or YouTube. Sami Zayn in the Bloodline. That guy is. Acknowledge Sammy. This guy in social media, even he goes on like he's on Twitter. We've been the Dreamcast of wrestling predictions for long. We have been ever since GWO. Can't be stopped. Can't be stopped. Sami Zayn on in the storyline, he presents himself as somebody who's trying to be in the family, and he's like trying to nudge out one of the Usos, like blaming him for stuff, being like, some of us can't always, get the job done, referring to the Usos. But on social media, it's like photoshopping a family picture of the Usos and Reigns. He photoshops himself in at that age, wearing the same clothes as them. It's just hilarious how far he goes and how well he does it. Sami Zayn is a national treasure. I'm going to say that right now as a Canadian. Honor my man Sammy El Generico. Okay. Anyways, I kind of got off track here. This is the AEW Grand Slam 2020 reaction and optimism towards the future of AEW thing. Sammy Day, please, yes. Where I think things are going to go from here. I think AEW and WWE are going to have a lot of back and forth in terms of momentum. This is what I loved about the Monday Night Wars at the time. You never knew who was going to appear where. I do think Tony Khan, the owner, in the public perception, and this is not me trying to talk inside baseball, this is as a fan perspective, because he kind of makes it public. He puts media scrums on YouTube to answer questions both in and out of kayfabe, which is a interesting way to blur the line, but he certainly does. I think Tony Khan has a bit of work to do to kind of reclaim the Teflon demeanor that he had, that kind of reception he would receive from fans. He was like the savior of pro wrestling. But this Elite and CM Punk stuff has really tarnished that. And yeah, I think a lot of people just side with the idea that the Elite, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that to the Elite. The Elite, you should get Punk out of there. I just want to say F you. Okay. I don't get over you're not in the business. You know what I mean? Just enjoy, like, see it from a fan perspective. You have wrestling fans upset that there's personal animosity between wrestlers backstage. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You want less personal animosity between the wrestlers. But it's backstage. It's not on the show. What is the difference? You have your face buried in dirt sheets all week. You're going to tell me that's not going to get you more invested in one side or the other? Come on now. Give your head a shake. Kayfabe isn't dead because MJF, they took MJF off the show for like, what, 4 months or something? Maybe longer than that. I don't know. Or maybe less. I don't know. But he's been gone. They scrubbed him of the show after he cussed out Tony Khan. Said, "Fire me, you effing Mark," on live TV. I love the idea that if this is a work, they're working the audience so hard, but they're working it against Tony, and I think that can be troublesome. But yeah, you bring CM Punk back. You know what's interesting though is Jim Cornette, who is like the number one. He just hates everything about AEW. He's fully on Punk's side after this media scrum. If you listen to his podcast, he's like, "I've been saying this for years." He is not like the Young Bucks or Kenny Omega. But that's the thing. Like, there's people who like CM Punk and FTR, and the content of what CM Punk was saying is that basically the elite is kind of like a new clique, and they try to bury people on the rise, or the main event guys who aren't in their group, and they do it using being the elite on their YouTube channel, or talking to the wrestling media. That's a very interesting story to tell. Tony staying meek is actually the perfect way for a 2022 CEO figure to operate in kayfabe. It is. Yeah, it's true. That is so true. Just let people talk. Let it boil and then bring them back. You got it in the bank. Plus, CM Punk is injured. But I mean, CM Punk is injured. I wonder if Kenny Omega is slightly still injured. Give all these guys a break. I don't know. I want it to be a work. My heart says it's not. My writer brain says it's the perfect work. And if it's not, you should still present it on television. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, let people talk. I don't know when they'll bring it back though. And here's the thing, if CM Punk just retires, I don't know. Punk is too savvy for it not to be a work. Well, I don't know. Punk's whole thing is he just doesn't give a shit. Like, people mad at Punk for this, who like claim to be Punk fans, can't be that much of Punk fans, because this has been Punk's MO for so long. Like, way back in TNA, he'd be calling people out, telling people how it is, getting in fights. You know what I mean? I like that. I like that he beat people. Are like, well, you made Tony, the owner of the company, look small and powerless. So you're going to tell me that Steve Austin and McMahon, the Angle, in 1998, 99, 97 wasn't the most compelling thing on television? You're going to tell me that? Wrestlers should not, like, you've been conditioned. These people have been conditioned from the WWE because the authority figures have always just belittled the wrestlers and made them seem like children and lucky to have a job. When the reality is that these, these wrestling promotions are built off the back of the stars. The stars are bigger than promotions. You want your wrestling star to be bigger than the company. You want your wrestling star to be larger than life. CM Punk telling Tony Khan what to do is the perfect flex for the world champion. The world champion should have this kind of aura of invincibility. Should not have to answer to anybody. So you're going to tell me, like, you're going to suspend the champion and put the belt on somebody else, but it doesn't answer the question, Well, it kind of does because CM Punk beat John Moxley to have that belt. Then he got suspended. So now the belt goes back to Moxley. So the guy you suspended is still better than your champion. Like what the CM Punk come back and he's still like MJF and CM Punk. Their promos are ridiculous. You could sell like you're going to make millions of dollars off CM Punk cutting promos. You could sell it. You sold out an arena on a rumor that CM Punk was going to return. I like Kenny Omega. I think he's a fantastic wrestler. I like watching his matches. He tells great stories through those matches. Great athlete, whatever, but I don't care. I don't care about who he is because it has not really been defined. The first year of him in AEW is like toiling in mid-card matches, losing and sometimes winning. That was the flop. Should have had him right on the top of the card, right from the get-go. Spend that first year defining who he is. He's one of your top stars, and he's relatively new to a North American demographic. And you're going to wait till his third year? What is that, the end of his contract to start defining him? What the You know what I mean? So you'd miss the boat somewhat for me on Kenny Omega as a main event star in a North American wrestling television show. He did fine. He did fine as a heel, when he was a champion, but nowhere near the heat that CM Punk can generate or MJF because they connect with the audience on a regular basis. Kenny Omega and the Bucks, they connect on YouTube or like on Twitch. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. Can't believe these same people watch the Attitude Era. I know. They've been conditioned. Well, really, it's a different world now. It sure is, But stories still work the same way. Beats still work the same way. Antagonists and protagonists still matter. And how you present your wrestling promotion still matters. Can you think of a star? Who's the biggest star since The Rock? John Cena. Could they fire John Cena? No. Would they have? No. Could John Cena have done whatever he wanted in that company? Yes. But even John Cena, in his role so the business of the WWE grew, certainly, which maybe expanded an awareness to who John Cena is to some degree, but not like The Rock, not like Steve Austin when they were running. Those guys were cultural icons with a much smaller business. So it doesn't compare. John Cena might have generated more money over his time, but I got to think his cultural effect, when you consider and relative, is smaller than The Rock or Steve Austin. When you consider how much they did in the amount of time, like Steve Austin, what was his run? Like 3-4 years? T-shirts were everywhere. It was cool. The Rock. Are you kidding me? I don't know. I'm just on a tangent. Now I gotta shut it down though, because I'm just gonna go on. I gotta save some for next time. I don't know when next time will be, but I'm gonna record. I'm gonna put this available on your podcast platforms. It will be available. You'll be able to download this on your Google Podcasts or your Apple iTunes Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts. You can do that. You can come to the YouTube channel. I think this is actually, since I'm broadcasting this to our old Getting Color YouTube channel, so it'll be there as well. Or you can come back to this Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/ It's / the Wolf Johnson. Okay. Subscribe to this and get some notifications when I'm going on it. And I'll go on it and talk, and you can come and talk, and I'll talk to you. Okay. Talk wrestling. You can you hit me at that TikTok. I got D Wolf Johnson on TikTok. I don't talk much wrestling. I just kind of talk shit. But the thing is, I tried to talk wrestling on there, and like it just doesn't do anything. I just don't know how to. I don't know how to get into that corner of TikTok. I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe I'll post this on there. That's what I should do. That's a thing. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, thanks. You've got me very interested in wrestling again, says Leozy in the chat. Like, thanks for coming by, my friend. Thanks for coming by. And I apologize if you first dip back into the pool of wrestling is kind of a bad one. But I assure you there's some fantastic stuff. I'm happy to help guide you there. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff happening now, though. I got to tell you, just avoid NXT, which I wouldn't say normally. Watch a truncated Raw. Don't watch it live. In my opinion, still it's much better, but they still got to fine tune some of it. Though I did watch one of the Raws I watched all the way through, and I was like, "Oh, is it over already?" Which was like which is a thing. Yeah. You can live stream to TikTok. You cannot. You cannot. Can you? Anyways, all right. I'm gonna shut this down. Thanks for coming by, friends. And yeah, we'll catch you next time. Hooty hoo.